For today's Friday's free games, we do have a unusual collection of games to choose from. I wouldn't say the graphics are amazing, but here is a quick rundown of a lot that is on offer. The first is a music rhythm game that is made by some students, and I do appreciate the fact that there is a decent amount of variety in the music and there is leaderboard functionality. Then there is Cheese Rolling, which is one of the most popular games for the week. It's a bizarre multiplayer chasing game, and it has 549 reviews. 97% of them are positive. There is also Come Out Cat, which is like a choose your own adventure where you put words together. I believe this game was originally in Japanese, and it is extremely popular in that country, it seems. However, some people who speak English also enjoy it. 98% of 239 reviews are positive. Curse of Woni is a JRPG that also has roguelike elements. There is some familiar that you follow around or you help out. I do like the voice acting and the sound design in it. Deep Snake is a 3D snake game where you try and eat apples, and then whenever you eat one, the little arrow over here changes and you go back into the other side of the screen and try and get another apple. 95% of 83 reviews are positive. Depths Unseen is a 2D platformer. I really like the shadowy look of the character with the eyes. It doesn't have too many reviews, but I do like what I see with it. Dreamcatcher 2003 is an overhead horror game. I think it might be made in RPG Maker, but people who do play it seem to like it. ESA Shield is a planet defense simulation game. However, it seems like it's just a demo because it takes about 20 minutes to beat, and then after you deflect the first asteroid, the game ends. 87% of the 16 reviews are positive. Flip Sum is a puzzle game that is sort of like Sudoku. Of course, the graphics are pretty simplistic. However, that is not a problem for games such as this. GB Basic, or I would call it Game Boy Basic, is something that I find to be rather exciting. It is a title where you can develop Game Boy titles, you can export what you make into a ROM file, and you can play it in an emulator. Now, I do think this one would be a really difficult thing to try and figure out on your own, but for those who do know about programming, perhaps this would be really interesting to try out. Hard Drivers is a kart racing game. I do like the sci-fi look to it, and it does indeed remind me of Mario Kart and F-Zero. 84% of 13 reviews are positive. This one, with this first-person horror title, unfortunately it doesn't have any reviews yet, which is a shame. I did actually like the trailer in the sense of the flashy lights and the sound design being interesting, and so I wanted to highlight it, even though no one has reviewed it yet. This is a 3D puzzle platformer that has an Egyptian look to it. You seem to be going through a temple or a pyramid, and a lot of the puzzles are of a pressure plate style. Luffy Homebound is a relaxing overhead exploration game. I did like the chillness of the trailer, or the calmness of the trailer, and I do like the graphical style. This is the first of 2 free games on the Epic Game Store for the week. This is a point-and-click adventure game that has, it looks like, no dialogue, similar to the style of this particular developer. They also made Saborast, which is a game that I reviewed on my blog earlier. Machine Gunner 2 Bullet Transcending is a unusual minimalistic twin-stick shooter. As you can see, it has different colored shapes on the sides, but you also seem to be different boxes and you can shoot in different directions and you're supposed to defeat the enemies on the outside of the box. There is almost no reviews for it, unfortunately, but I do like the style from the trailer, so I wanted to show it. Make Way is the second free game from the Epic Games Store for the week. In this one, this is a party racing game, but before you do each lap of the race, you and your friends pick from a random assortment of pieces and try and make the most bizarre or weird set of track that you can, and then you race on it immediately thereafter. Master of Peace Prologue is indeed the prologue version of a full game that is going to be coming out later. I did have a hard time figuring out a bit more about the gameplay of this title when I was watching the trailer for it, but I did like the art style for it, and also people seem to enjoy it. with 92% of 28 reviews being positive. Also, I appreciated the fact that the developers have improved the game based on feedback from players whenever they release the demo, so that's pretty cool. Ocean's Venus is a puzzle horror game. It does seem pretty straightforward in some regards, as in some people say that it is kind of simple. However, I did like some of the trailer, and so I wanted to show it. Scaredy Cat is a casual action-adventure game that has different perspectives as you play it, and in it you are supposed to get a rare flower to show that you are not a scaredy cat, indeed. It is a student project that was made in a few months. Silent Residence was a quite popular horror game for the week. However, this one may not be the best for everybody. It is from the perspective of someone who is fighting multiple personality disorder or schizophrenia, so you might want to decide if you will play this or not based on that. However, 90% of 22 reviews are positive. This is a 2D boss fight game, and in it has at least 10 boss fights, but you can also make your own. I do kind of like the Microsoft Paint artwork, even though it is really simplistic and not exciting to look at. However, I think it fits for this particular game. Also, the game was made by one person with the help of other individuals for different assets. Watertight was one of the most exciting horror games for the week. It does have 93% positive rating across 33 reviews. In it, you are trying to find the wreckage of the Titanic, and while doing so, your submarine is damaged. And then as you are restoring life support systems, of course, there is something that wants to kill you. What the Heck is a 3D platformer where you play as like a robot or something, and you need to escape from the facility that you are in. But the facility wants to kill you, and they do different traps to try and stop you from escaping. 100% of 17 reviews are positive. XD1 is the surreal game that I mentioned near the top. It is really difficult to understand based on the trailer. However, 94% of 38 reviews are positive. And finally, we have this cube adventure game, which is a precision platformer. I do like the fact that the trailer shows a lot of different gameplay mechanics and different concepts from the game, like the premise, and also it talks about different game modes, such as a lean yet easier mode where you can survive at least 2 hits before you die. It does have indeed 100 levels and 6 worlds, and I did like the style of the game. So that is what I thought was the most interesting for the free games for the week. Thanks for watching.